online, a lot of people are asking about that. What's the difference between HMOs and traditional rentals, and the pros and cons of each? And also, is there a scenario where maybe you yourself would recommend HMO lets?
Okay, all right. Let's break this down. So HMO versus traditional lets. If we first talk about HMOs, HMOs are sometimes referred to as roomlets. So it's when you take one property and you rent out individual rooms. So let's just say across the road here, I mean, we're in Brick Lane right now. You might be able to rent some of these 3 bed flats for, let's just say, £2,500 a month, maybe more. But what happens is you with HMOs, what people might do is they will take each individual room and rent it separately. So they might get £1,000 per room. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
which makes it £3,000, right?
Yeah.
Now the main pro is that you get more money, right? The ultimately you want to make more money. If you can't make more money from it, then it's a lot of hassle. And I'll go into the hassles in a sec. So if we've now rented out those 3 rooms for £1,000 each, which brings us up to £3,000. What you have to account for is several things. First of all, bills. Are you including bills in that? Are you not including bills? If you are, then every month, if you're paying out, especially like with the electricity and gas and everything going up so much now, you really have to figure out what you're likely to be spending for bills. Secondly, you have to factor in the extra hassle it's going to be. Yeah. If it's more work, you really want to make sure that you're making more money from it, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you rent it out to one person for a whole year, then
It's just you're
that,
only
you don't have to
considering one person.
exactly. You don't have to worry about it. You just let it out one person. You just get the issues from, when I say one person, I mean what, one group. It
Yeah.
could be a family, it could be a group of 3, but you're mainly going to be dealing with one person from that tenancy. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? You'd probably have to arrange cleaning, yeah, because remember when you rent out rooms, those people are just most likely, and they're just going to be making sure their room's okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna tidy their whole house. It's just whoever, if it's their own room, then that's what they're gonna care about.
Exactly. So the common areas suffer a lot in those scenarios. Do you see what I mean? So the kitchen won't get cleaned regularly. The bathroom doesn't get cleaned regularly. Now you can. I mean, in the past we've done rooms. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm gonna say, we mentioned a lot of like negative points to rooms, but we've done rooms in the past because it used to be, more lucrative for the landlords. What we've found is when you rent out individual rooms, people most of the time will just only look after their own rooms, right? Now we've tried to enforce rotas and stuff like that. Most of the time, people don't
They don't really
follow it.
follow
You see
it.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So if people do, I mean, we've had people that do, but remember, like when you're managing, especially for a company, if it's like companies watching this or a landlord with several properties, there's like,
They don't have time to focus on one property and one.
yeah, I mean, if one place doesn't, clean up for themselves, you have to constantly. It's a lot of work to try and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, to combat that, you just hire a cleaner. You say hire a weekly cleaner. They take care of the communal parts. Because what happens is if you don't clean certain things like the bathrooms and kitchens, if you don't clean, if it's not getting cleaned regularly,
It causes more problems.
at the end of the year, it's so much like a toilet. To clean that toilet, it's going to be really hard. Yeah, it's going to have grease on the kitchen. It's like you have to pay a cleaner like 3 times the amount. That you see what I mean? It's like some things might cause so much damage that they have to be replaced.
So in a sense, it causes more costs for you guys to deal with when tenants don't clean up after themselves. And
Yeah, so that's why to combat that, I would say just hire a cleaner for that. Wear and tear is another one. Yeah. So what happens is basically when you rent out to one group, yeah, what traditionally happens is one group of people move in. You do an inventory report at the beginning that records what the condition of the property is. At the end of it, if there's damages, beds are not looking good or whatever it is, like you go back to the inventory, you show the tenant, and then you can deduct it off there. If you don't have the inventory, it's very difficult to deduct anything because it can go to dispute, and then the arbitrators or the adjudicators are like, show me the inventory. If you can't show the inventory, then you can't.
there's no proof.
Yeah, there's no proof. You can't deduct any money. Now with rooms, if you're saying, yeah, well, just do the inventory per room, it's very difficult to do an inventory per. Like, I mean, it's not difficult. You can get it done, but it's very expensive. That's the first thing. Yeah, so you do because the cost is like now multiplied. Yeah, a lot of landlords don't want to do that. Secondly, when you're doing all the communal areas, you suffer. So if you're doing rooms, if someone breaks something in the communal area, like the kitchen's broken, yeah, now the tenant might, like one tenant might not agree, or it's like you'll never find out who did it.
So let's say if one area of the house is damaged, who would have to pay for the damages at the end of the inventory? Would it be if, like, let's say there's three tenants and one of them broke it, but no one's owning up to it? So how would they like find out who's?
You won't. So that's the thing. The landlord would probably have to take a hit on that.
Oh,
So like you said, like let's just say sofa. It's in the living room, right?
Yeah.
Sofa's broken. Nobody agrees to, no, like, because remember, they're tenants, right? Like, they all live together. They're housemates. They probably, have each other's back. So they'll be like, we don't know what happened.
yeah,
You see what I mean? So things like that, a landlord will have to take the hit on, because nobody admits to it. Do you see what I mean?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the second part to your question was, is there any instances where I would recommend it, right?
Yeah, what would you say is the good side of HMO?
So, firstly, all the reasons that I've mentioned, like,
Because it sounds like there's more disadvantages than advantages to HMOs.
so remember, the one advantage is that you can make more money,
Yeah.
right? That trumps everything if you make enough money, that is, yeah.
Okay.
But what a lot of people make a mistake on, if they're making let's just say, a profit of £300 a month, let's just say, for example, a landlord makes, yeah. But when they're doing HMO, they might be making £400 a month. They're thinking they're making more money, right?
Yeah.
Based on immediately, like, the £100 extra, but they're not considering the long-term effects. So like I said, some of the long-term effects are the upkeep of the property. Yeah, landlord has to pay for that most of the time, because you can't always blame it on the tenant, because there's no proof. Yeah. Extra cleaning costs, right? Yeah. So ultimately, when you look into all the different things, it has to be a significant amount more.
There has to be the advantage has to be bigger than the disadvantage.
Yeah, no, your profit margin has to be much more bigger.
Oh, okay.
To account for the extra hassle that you're taking on. The other thing, actually, I didn't mention was, generally, if you're doing a traditional let, you'll do a 1-year contract most of the time, right?
Yeah.
With room lets, you can also do 1-year lets, but from experience, there was a lot of people that want to take it for like 3 months or 6 months, which means now a 3-bedroom flat, if there's like 2 tenancies a year, now that's 6 tenancies you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's more than that, let's just say sometimes it's 3 months. Every 3 months, that's like 4 tenancies in the space of 1 year for one room. You see, it can get so many tenancies, unless and depending, like, if your agency's taking care of it, they might be charging admin fees, they might be referencing costs every time. It can all add up. Personally, in the areas like we've been covering, like Tower Hamlets and stuff like that, it's not, personally, I don't think there's enough of a profit margin when you account for every single thing.
Okay. So would you recommend that traditional rentals are better than HMOs,
So,
from your experience?
Yes. Yeah. Now that I've been doing it for quite a long time, more than 10 years, I would say there's quite a lot of things that people don't, think about, like those things that I mentioned, the general upkeep and stuff like that. I mean, if you're a living landlord, again, that makes sense. If you've got a property now that's too big for you, maybe your kids have grown up and moved out or whatever it is, then that's another thing. That's another way. That's another example of where it probably does make sense to have roomlets. Yeah, HMO lets. So as you rent out some of your rooms, there's also a tax saving. Like, if you rent out a room inside your property, there's up to £7,500 tax-free income for you to make from that. So what I mean by that is, because I said that in a bit of a weird way, if I rent out a room, let's just say it's, I think £7,500 works out to be something like £625 a month. So let's just say, for example, one of my rooms is one of the rooms where I live is £625 a month.
Yeah.
All that income is going to be tax-free. All of it, because it adds up to £7,500 per year. It's like, so if you're renting a second room, then you're going to be taxed on that, and so on and so forth. Because obviously rental income is always taxed. It just depends on where on the tax bracket margin you are.
Maybe.
But guys, if you enjoyed it, please press the like button, subscribe, share it, comment as well, because it really helps on the algorithm. And if you want to see more of this, let us know. Put it in the comments, And if you have more questions, put it in the comments, and then we'll try and take those comments and make another episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.